brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me. Ask the Paul, where we rise and don't fall.
It's
Welcome
French.
back to another episode of Baxter's Buzz. I am your host, Baxter E. Hall. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my frequency. Enter at your own risk. Now, today I have a special guest. Um, a friend of mine. She is an HR leader and practitioner. Latreece Taylor, welcome to Baxter's Buzz.
Hey, Baxter.
I you don't know yet, but I attempt to make all my guests laugh before I start. So you just never know when I'm gonna start. So um just know I figure we want to start with the big smile, a little goofiness, right? But no, I'm super thrilled that you're on. It is February. It is Black History Month. The reminder is Black History is American history. And I am looking forward to learning a little bit about your person that you want to highlight today. So who are we talking about, Treese?
So I would like to talk about Bessie Coleman. And, she's this amazing young woman, was this amazing young woman that we've never heard of. Like we've all heard of Amelia Earhart, right? But Bessie Coleman came first. Bessie Coleman came before her. So Bessie Coleman was a Black American pilot, and she grew up in the Jim Crow South. She was born in the 1800s, 1892. So imagine a woman with everything, a Black woman with everything that they had to overcome to actually get a pilot's license back in the 1800s.
Wow. Wow. And so how did she get to that point? So she's born in 1800. So like just talk a little bit about her upbringing and what led her to become a pilot.
Sure. So she was born in Texas. She was one of 13 kids.
Mm,
And although they had meager means, they did have some means because they were able to buy a plot of land, and they had a one bedroom house, a one room house that they were able to put on their little plot of land. Their father, who was part Native American, he actually left the family to go back to Oklahoma where he could, escape some of the violence that Black men were facing in the South. And so Bessie's mom raised these 13 kids by herself,
oh
and
my,
she was determined that they would be educated.
mm,
And
mm.
that wasn't easy back in Texas, but she did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow, wow. So the dad's gone. Mom is raising these 13 children. And where did Bessie get the itch? Like what was I know you've been researching and you knew a little bit about her anyway, but what was the catalyst? What would you point to as like maybe the catalyst that got her into wanting to fly?
So she was just hungry for knowledge. She was a great math student, even being at a school that was ill-equipped. Her school was also a one-room school, and it held kids from first through eighth grade. So, and it was often interrupted by, cotton season or what have you. So, she was always just thirsty for knowledge and got it in whichever way she could. But she migrated to Chicago, and two of her brothers had also migrated to Chicago before her, and they were also in the war, and they started talking to her about women flying in France, which was something that she had no idea
Mm,
that women could do. So that's what propelled her to even look into this. So she applied to all of the aviation schools in America, was denied by all of them because of
mm,
her race or her gender or both. So she learned French. She taught herself French, went and learned to speak French to prepare herself to go to France.
wow. Wow.
Yes,
So she was determined. She was gonna get there. She's gonna figure it out.
by hook or by crook, she was gonna figure it out.
Wow. Let me go back and you mentioned something. Um, you talked about this classroom. This one classroom had um, grades first through eighth, but then you said something about it being a lot of times being interrupted by crop season.
Yeah.
What is that? I mean, like, I don't think everyone knows what that means. What does that mean?
So they had to work. Like she would have to stop her education or other kids or the teachers or whomever. She wasn't able to just like go to school and learn. Like they didn't have books. They didn't have paper and pencil, but some kind of way she was still able to figure it out. So her mother worked for a white family. She was their domestic help. Everybody had to put in some work. So she wasn't, I mean, education, even though she was afforded some form of education, education wasn't just freely given to her and wasn't easy.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was hungry.
Well, two important things that we may take for granted. One being land, like actually having land and how important that is today. But in the 1800s, early 1900s,
Yeah.
it was not rare, or it was rare, very, very rare for a Black family to, have land, a plot of land that they can call their own, right? And then that the crop season piece, yeah, you still got to work.
Yeah.
You can't, you're not, my kids, hardly want to go to school, happy when they have a snow day. But imagine not being able to have that 7, 8 hours every day,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. Well, it's time to work. It's crop season. We got long nights
Mhm.
to get stuff done because that's a priority, and sort of education being sort of secondary
Right.
to sort of just making sure that the family has what they need, right?
Right, right. And I think it sparked something in her. She was determined. She also was an avid reader, and so she would read the books, and they were, depicted African Americans in a negative light. She was like, "This will never be me.
Mm,
This will never be me." So, just want to, tell you that when she finally learned French, which is not an easy thing to do. French is actually the language that my second language that I studied when I was in college. I took 2 years of French. I could not hold a conversation in French. So this woman learned French
yeah, yeah,
under those conditions.
yeah. Wow,
Applied to an aviator school in France, was accepted, completed the program, and was given credentials to be able to fly anywhere, she was the first American to be given those credentials, whether male, female, black, white. She was the first American, period, to be able to fly anywhere. So that was pretty amazing.
wow.
Pretty amazing stuff.
Did she have when she went to France? Did she have to like tell people she was someone else, or did she have some sort of like alias?
No, and you remember that was back in the Josephine Baker days. And so France was just a little bit more progressive
Hmm.
with the way that they treated African Americans and Black folks than the US was. So
So
she
she was
went
just
to
able to
France
go
and
over
prospered.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she got her stunt pilot's license. She was a stunt pilot.
Oh,
Yes. This woman would be, performing in different theaters and air shows, doing loop-de-loops and all of the things. She was not just a regular pilot, she was a stunt pilot.
wow. Wow. So she gets this license. She the first American that has this pilot license that says you can fly anywhere throughout the world.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then she becomes a stunt pilot, just putting on shows.
Yep.
Now, was she still in France at this point, or what did she move back to the States or?
She traveled all over Europe and America, putting on these shows. And that was how she made her living from then, as being an aviator. And she tried to encourage other Black folks to do that as well. I will tell you, unfortunately, this is what led to her death during one of her shows. She was only 34 years old when she passed away. But my God, what this woman was able to do in 34 years
Yeah.
back in the late 1800s to
Yeah,
early 1900s was incredible. I
yeah,
mean, imagine if she had proper education and proper opportunity and proper means where she would have gone.
yeah, yeah.
She did so much with so little.
When you learned about her, like what pieces of it besides your failed attempt at learning French, what what else did you see in her and her story that inspired you?
Well, I really identify with her grit. I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to quit. I am either gonna go through, I'm gonna go over, I'm gonna go around, I'm gonna go under, I'm gonna do
Yeah,
what I gotta do to get to my destination and to get to whatever my goal is. And that's the attitude that I took when I went back to school. I always tell people, I didn't go back to school in my mid 30s with two babies, a house, and a whole husband to not fail at my goals, right? I was
right.
determined to get it
Yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah. Um, Grit. I think that we hear it. I don't know. I feel like we hear it a little bit more now thanks to the Detroit Lions. Um, but I'm telling you, and I've said this for years, one of the best compliments I've ever gotten was somebody saying that I had grit.
Right.
I think that it's that thing that um you can't always put your finger on, but when you know people that have it, it means a lot. That's not a word that you use like, oh, that's a cute coat or cute, or oh, that's a nice, grit means I see you, I understand a little bit of kind of what you've been through, and I see the way you push through, right? I think, you know, there's not many compliments that exceed that one from me personally. Uh,
Yeah, I like that word. I mean, that word just it speaks of toughness, it speaks of determination. And I like to hope that some of what I've been through have paid off and on my daughters and for my daughters, and that they have seen that there's nothing that you can't do. You
yeah,
just need opportunity and imagination, because if you can think about it, you can do it.
yeah, yeah. That it starts with that, right? It's the grit. Grit says it ain't been easy, right?
But here we are.
Yeah, but here we are, and here you are still working through it, right? And I try to explain it to my son. If you just teleported to the destination, it'd be cool for a minute, but you wouldn't really appreciate it.
Right.
Um, if you don't have to really work through it. And it's those types of lessons that hopefully they'll learn a little bit later on as they get older. But um last words on Bessie, like um we know that she um passed away, way too soon, right, at 34. But just her impact, I mean, she was born over 100 years ago, and we're sitting here in 2025 talking about her impact. um what are your kind of final thoughts about Bessie and the contribution that she's made to history?
I learned about Bessie Coleman when my daughter was in the fourth grade. And I was like, how is it that I've never heard about this woman before? So I was really attracted to the fact that there was a Black woman that was born in the 18 anything,
Right.
that was able to become a pilot. And then learning that she came before Amelia Earhart, it's kind of like the Hidden Figures ladies. You feel like, why didn't we learn about them? Their contribution to American history was important and valuable. The other thing that I want to say about Bessie Coleman is her name is Elizabeth Coleman, and Coleman is my family's surname, is like my grandfather's name, and he has a sister named Elizabeth. So her maiden name is Elizabeth Coleman. So it just made it feel even more,
Yeah,
familial to me. But I was so struck by her story. She had to overcome so much with so little, and she was just amazing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's a good point of emphasis is It's not where you start. It's where you finish, right?
Right.
And the theme I've had recently, just events that I've gone to and things that I've been reading, um, the contributions that we're making right now and the paths that we're paving, there are people that we don't even know their names that are going to benefit from that, just like we've benefited from so many folks uh,
Right.
to precede us. So to folks out there that may feel a little unsung, to feel like things may be odds may be stacked against them, you know, I'm not gonna say if Bessie can do it, you can do it, but if Bessie can do it, you can do it. There, we have some resources. You can't do it alone. You gotta definitely have some grit, have a plan, but just know, not only your future self, but other folks that again you haven't even met yet,
Yeah.
great grandkids, and then who knows, well, who else, counting on you to do your part to kind of continue to advance the world and advance humanity in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Bessie had a team. I mean, Bessie had, her whole family that was helping her out. She had a mama that didn't know how to quit.
Yeah,
She had brothers who said, "Hey, I've seen this. It's real. It can happen for you too." And then she followed her own plan, and her own destiny was to not that this is not it for me.
yeah,
There's more.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what it is. It's there's more, and it's not all about how we get there or sort of how far we go, but it's about how you get there, the folks that you bring with you, that the planning, the impediments, the journey, the sharing of those experiences. And every once in a while you are recognizing history. But for the folks that won't ever be, or maybe it'll be way down the line when we're mentioned, just know your contributions are important too, right?
Yeah.
These things don't happen in a vacuum. These ripples that we are creating, some of them will become big waves, and and some of them will never be heard from again. But that doesn't mean that we stop, right? We keep going and making our contributions and focusing on our input and our own journeys.
Well, I just want to say one other thing. I was just watching a show, and Clarence Avant's daughter was on, and she was talking about her dad. And if you don't know who Clarence Avant is, you need to Google him and look at his story. There was a Netflix documentary about him too, called The Black Godfather. But one thing that he told her, he just recently passed away, and his wife was brutally murdered a few years ago. Um, in their home. But he was talking about what you do with your dash, right? You have a birth date, you have a date of death, but in the middle, how do you live your life through your dash? And so I really liked the way she, talked about what her dad said about your dash. And Bessie made the best of her dash. She had just a short amount of time on this earth, but like you said, all this time later, we are talking about Bessie Coleman, who was amazing,
Yeah.
did
No,
amazing things.
yes, yes. It's that in between time. They say it's not the number of years in your life, it's the amount of life in your years.
Oh, yes, yes, for
And
sure.
shout out and salute to Bessie Coleman and for all the pilots that she's inspired over the years. Um, Black, Native American, and everyone else, because I'm sure that story resonates with everyone in one way or the other.
Yes, for sure.
So again, Black history is American history. On behalf of Latreece, I am Baxter E. Hall. I just want to let everyone know who's listening or watching this that you are all capable. Just need to embrace your own frequency. Until next time, peace.
Welcome into his brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me. Ask them.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Please subscribe, share, and also hit that notification button as well. Thank you so much.
Financial literacy to authentic black history. This real rap